Hello, everyone. This is another Black Conservative. I am Ryan Bowling. Thank you all for joining me once again. In this video, I want to do something a little bit more lighthearted as opposed to the two videos that I did on the shooting incidents. Okay, that was pretty rough, but I had to give that information though, okay? And that is in reference to actor Dan Aykroyd's comment about his co-star Eddie Murphy, who did not object to Dan Aykroyd donning in blackface and wearing a Rasta wig and feigning a Jamaican accent. That Eddie Murphy had no problem with that. So let's get right into this article in the movie Trading Places, right away. By the way, let's get right into this article and let's hear what Dan Aykroyd had to say. And it's interesting. It's very interesting, but you're going to hear what he has to say. It says, actor Dan Aykroyd has revealed that his Trading Places co-star Eddie Murphy didn't object to the movie's blackface scene in which Aykroyd's character donned dark face paint and a Rasta wig while feigning a Jamaican accent. And that scene was hilarious, okay? Dan Aykroyd recalls shooting the scene in a recent interview with the Daily Beast for the movie's 40th anniversary. Eddie and I were improvising there. Eddie is a black man and his entourage were all black people. And I don't think they batted an eye, the actor said. There was no objection then. Nobody said anything. It was just a good comic beat that was truthful to the story. Interesting. Aykroyd said the scene couldn't be done today. He's absolutely right. I probably wouldn't choose to do a blackface part, nor would I be allowed to do it. I probably wouldn't be allowed to do a Jamaican accent, whiteface, or black, he said. In these days we're living in, all that's out the window. I would be hard-pressed to do an English accent and get away with it. They say, oh, you're not English. You can't do it. As Breitbart News reported, Eddie Murphy took a stand against woke cancel culture, saying comedians shouldn't have to say they're sorry for jokes they told in the past. It's almost like there was this thing where for the last couple of years, people had to apologize for saying this and that. It seems like I'm seeing a couple of comics going, you know what? Enough of this S, okay? I'm doing my thing and let the chips fall where they may, Murphy told AP in 2019. That's where I'm coming from, he added. I'm not planning to step on nobody's foot or get in some controversy or turn over the apple cart. I'm just going to be Eddie. Whatever comes out, that's what it's going to be. And that's the end of the article there. That's the end of his comments. Now, this was in 2019 when he said that. I don't know what his stance is now. It could have changed over the course of the few years because things have become even more woke, okay, than they were back in 2019. So who knows, you know? But I just want to say, first of all, I love Trading Places. Trading Places was one of my all-time favorite comedies and is one of my all-time favorite comedies. It was hilarious to the point. I mean, that scene was just hilarious to me. Now, mind you, when I first saw the scene back in the 80s, I don't even know if I was thinking racially necessarily. I don't remember thinking racially like, man, what is he doing? He's wearing his makeup on his face. All I remember was the two actors going, a boy is a boy, a boy is a boy, a boy, a boy, a boy, a boy. And I was just laughing like crazy because I thought that was so funny, you know. And it's interesting that Mr. Aykroyd would say those kind of things because of the fact that back in those days, it didn't seem to be as much of a problem, even though racial tensions were still in existence at the time and that race was still a situation at the time, you know. It wasn't to the point where every little thing you did, you had to be like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I better not say this. I better not look this way. You know, it was comedy. It was comedy, you know, and people just shrugged it off as, hey, comics say what comics say. Comics do what comics do. And I think that people tend to miss that aspect and element about comics, okay, and or rather comedians that go beyond what the nice comedians do. I'll give you an example. Chris Rock and the situation at the award show when he said what he said towards Jada Pinkett Smith about her hair. G.I. Jane or something like that, the sequel to G.I. Jane, I can't remember. And everybody was in an uproar. You know, some people sided with Chris Rock, some people sided with Will Smith. I mean, that's not what I'm about to get into. What I want to talk about is the fact that he said what he said. Now, some people have had problems with what he said, and some people have not had problems with what he said. Some people said he had always had issues with Jada Pinkett Smith. And I'm wondering if the issues that he supposedly had with Jada Pinkett Smith, is that something that this person heard Jada Pinkett say? Because Jada Pinkett said, well, he had something, he's always had issues with me and always liked me and all this kind of stuff. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I highly doubt it, because I always felt like, and I told my friend that I always felt like, I'm going on the sidebar here a little bit, I always felt like Jada Pinkett Smith, though I liked her and I thought she was pretty, she had an arrogant, or she had a sedity attitude about herself. I'm just too fine. I'm all this and all that in a bag of chips. Well, anyway, I digress. The little comic thing that he said about her hair, the way I took it was, he's a comedian, and that's how Chris Rock is. You know, that's how he was. That's how he is. He's a comedian. He has a foul mouth, but so did Richard Pryor. You know what I mean? So did Eddie Murphy. Okay. They talked about people. They talked about gay people. They made jokes on gay people. They made jokes on black people. They made jokes on white people. No one said anything about it. No one pooted and snotted and had babies and was butthurt. None of that. Nowadays, the woke Gestapo, the wokety woke people are so hurt and I feel, oh my God, I'm so offended. You just hurt me. You can't help but wonder, all this emotional hurt and pain, and just, oh my God, you shouldn't say these type of things. You should watch what you say. Is it really about being sensitive towards other people, or is it all about control? And I think it's about, in my opinion, I think it's about control. I think it's about, don't say anything to these favorite groups like transgenders and gays and all these favorite groups. Don't say anything negative about them, okay? Because we're promoting them. The elites are promoting them and pushing them up and elevating them and celebrating them for a specific reason. It isn't because the elites love transgenders and love gay people and love all these overweight people who, like Lizzo and all that's promoting obesity. It isn't because the elites love them. It's because they have an agenda. The purpose is to promote what is negative, to promote what is wrong, to promote what is immoral, in order to break down the psychological aspects of the people that watch them and listen to them, so that it is easier to control them for the new world order. That's what that's all about. Has nothing to do with loving these trans. So don't speak negative about them, because we want them to feel like we just love them and care for them so much. And you guys are so all that in a bag of chips. And we really love these transgenders and these gays and these overweight people. And we just, no. That's a communist lie. That's a communist lie. They do not love you. How can you possibly love someone? Come on, man. All that hate in you, how in the world can any of these communists and socialists and Marxists love anyone? They don't even love themselves, let alone loving anyone else. They have an agenda, a dark, evil, satanic, horrible agenda, and it is not for anyone's good, including the transgenders, including the gays, including obese people, and all of them. They have a dark agenda for you, and it is not a utopia. That utopia that they're telling you is a lie. Every totalitarian government for thousands of years have always tried to create a totalitarian government. Go back in history and study it. They have always tried to create some kind of utopia, and it always have failed. What's going to make it even different now? Even the Bible itself predicts that this utopian government, that the government these elites are trying to create, is going to fail miserably, because there's going to be a man incarnated by Satan, whether you believe in him or not, I believe in it, who's going to take over this totalitarian government. He will be incarnated by Satan. Now, I don't need to explain to you how bad that's going to be. Satan's son ruling the world. What do you think that's going to be? How do you think that's going to be? How do you think that's going to turn out? That Satan loves transgenders, that he loves obese people. Oh, I love you so much. I'm going to make it. Man, come on. It's going to be the worst totalitarian regime in all of human history. That is what these elites are trying to do with these favored people like transgenders and obesity. That's what they're trying to do. They have a goal and agenda that is not for your good. Now, having said that, going back to the good side, okay? Going back to the good side, going back to the entertaining side, the movie, okay, Trading Places was hilarious, okay? But comedians do what they do. They do what they do. Dan Aykroyd was a comedian. I don't know if I never seen him in stand-up comedy, but I know he was considered to be a funny man from what I understand. And it was a comedy. It was a comedy. The movie was a comedy. Eddie Murphy was a comic, and I think Dan Aykroyd did some comedic things in it. It was what it was. You know, it was a comedy. You know, and it was funny. People laughed at it. And they didn't take it. They didn't take it seriously. They didn't take it to heart. Whatever happened to the saying, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words would never hurt me. Names would never hurt me." Whatever happened to that? You know, people are so overly sensitive now, but I've already told you about where all that nonsense comes from. I already told you where that comes from. Yeah, they're just so overly sensitive about every little single thing. And it's crazy, man. But yeah, look, I just wanted to bring that out here. He said Eddie Murphy had no problems with it. Eddie Murphy wasn't getting all upset about it. And in fact, I think in an interview about a year or so ago, I can't remember exactly who was interviewing Eddie Murphy on this particular show, but he stated that he was never into the racial thing. I think the question was asked about race and all that. He said, "I was never into that racial thing." I said, and I'm paraphrasing his words. He said, "I was never into the racial thing and any of that." He says, "If you was an a-hole, you was an a-hole, whether you was white, black, or whatever. It didn't make no difference to me. I was never into that, and it wasn't a problem with me." Now, I've watched Eddie Murphy's comedy show. I mean, I've watched his stand-up comedies. Okay, I've watched a lot of his movies. Okay, so I know Eddie Murphy, and I've watched Delirious, and I've watched Raw, both of them, several times over. And he did white jokes, he did gay jokes, he did whatever jokes, you know. But you could tell it wasn't based on racism. It wasn't based on belittling white people or belittling gays or any of that. It wasn't based on any of that. It was just that he took a situation like that and he just made it funny, like every good comedian does. All good comedians, the way I see it, all good comedians take situations and circumstances, no matter how dark they may be, no matter how twisted they may be, no matter how amoral or immoral they may be, and somehow they make them funny, okay? That's a good comedian in my opinion, okay? That's a good comedian in my opinion. But I find this interesting that Dan would say this about Eddie Murphy, that he had no problems and no qualms with this whole idea of him donning a blackface and using a Jamaican accent and wearing a Rasta wig. You know, it was not a problem for him. And if it was, he didn't voice it. He didn't voice it, okay? But I just wanted to bring that out. I thought there was a lighthearted little tone there to change things up a little bit here. I thought that was interesting. But at the same time, the elites are trying to use today in our woke Gestapo society, they are using these woke groups and activists and using these useful idiots, Lennon calls them, for a bigger purpose. These people think that the elites and the establishment love them and trying to protect them. No, they do not. Hell is where you're going to end up at, okay, in this new utopia that you think you're going to be in, because it's going to be a dystopia, and it's going to be the worst dystopia in all of human history, because we want to feel important. Or this group, rather, wants to feel important and think that they are being made to feel important, but you're not. They're lying to you. But that's what I had to say about that. What do you guys think? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel. God bless you all, and see you again.